Failure hurts. It breaks your heart, steals your sleep, and whispers in your ear, "You're not enough." But listen to me, failure doesn't kill you. What kills you is giving up. And tonight, we're going to walk together through the darkness of failure and find the light of resilience. So let me ask you, if this failure is not the end, but only a lesson, will you have the courage to try one more time? Have you ever felt like everything you worked for has suddenly slipped out of your hands? Maybe you gave your heart, your time, your effort to something, your career, your business, your dream, and instead of reward, all you got back was silence, rejection, or failure. And now, sitting there, you wonder if any of it was worth it. You wake up in the morning, but the weight in your chest is heavier than your body. You look in the mirror and it's not just tired eyes staring back at you, it's disappointment. Disappointment in yourself. Disappointment in how things turned out. And maybe the scariest part is that small, creeping thought whispering, what if this is the end? What if I'm not capable of more? If you are watching this, chances are you know exactly what it feels like. You know the pain of pouring your soul into something only to see it collapse. You know the ache of trying and trying, only to feel like life is mocking you. Maybe you even feel like you've failed not only yourself but the people who believed in you. And the shame, oh, the shame, wraps around you like chains, holding you down, whispering that maybe you should stop trying altogether. But let me say this, you are not alone. That heavy silence you feel when the world doesn't clap for you. Many of us have sat in that silence. That crushing fear that maybe you're not enough. Countless people before you have heard that same voice in their head. And yet, some of them chose to keep moving. Some of them chose to rise again, even when nothing in their world gave them a reason to. I know it hurts. I know right now you might feel broken, tired, and maybe even hopeless. But here's the truth, failure is not the end. Failure is not a death sentence. Failure is not the proof that you are worthless. Failure is simply a moment, a page in the story, not the whole book. And if you're sitting here thinking, but I can't do this again. I don't have the strength to get back up. I want you to listen closely. The fact that you're still breathing, the fact that you're still here, means your story isn't over. You may be bruised, you may be bleeding inside, but you are still alive. And as long as you are alive, you still have a chance to turn this around. This video is not here to give you empty slogans or shallow motivation. I'm not going to tell you to just be positive or never give up, as if those words alone could heal you. No. This is about looking straight into the reality of pain, admitting it, and then deciding that pain does not get the last word. So, let me ask you a question that might shake something inside you. If this failure was just a lesson, and not the ending, would you have the courage to try again? Take a deep breath. Let your heart answer, not your fear. Because this, right here, right now, might be the turning point you've been searching for. Why do failures crush us so deeply? Why does one setback feel like the universe is screaming that we are not enough? To understand this, we need to look at the invisible weight we all carry, the expectations, the comparisons, and the stories we tell ourselves. From a young age, many of us were taught that life is a straight line. Study hard, get a good job, climb the ladder, build stability, and you'll be safe. Society painted success like a checklist: graduate, career, marriage, house, family. And whether we realized it or not, we swallowed that script. We thought that as long as we followed the steps, things would work out. But life isn't a straight line. Life is messy. Life throws curveballs you never saw coming. A company shuts down. A relationship ends. An investment fails. A health scare happens. And when those moments come, they shatter the illusion that we are in control. Suddenly, you're standing in the ruins of what you thought life was supposed to be, and it feels like you've been cheated, like the rules you followed no longer apply. Then comes the voice in your head. It doesn't just say, "You failed." It whispers, "You are a failure." And there's a big difference. Failing at something is an event. Being a failure feels like an identity. And that is where the real pain begins. Think about it, when you lose a job, it's not just about the paycheck. It's about the loss of dignity, the fear of judgment, the crushing weight of thinking, maybe I wasn't good enough. When your dream project collapses, it's not only about the time wasted, it's the voice inside saying, see? You'll never make it. When you go through heartbreak, it's not only the end of a relationship, it's the echo of, maybe I'm unlovable. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is the meaning we attach to it. We don't see failure as feedback, we see it as a verdict. We don't see it as a single chapter, we see it as the entire story. And because of that, many people stop trying altogether. They stop dreaming. They stop taking risks. They stop living fully, just to avoid the possibility of pain. And this cycle is everywhere. People in their 20s terrified because they think one wrong career move will ruin everything. People in their 30s and 40s stuck in jobs they hate because the fear of failing at something new is worse than the misery they feel now. People in their 50s regretting the chances they never took, haunted by the what-ifs of a life half-lived. Look around and you'll see it, so many talented, passionate, capable individuals living small, cautious lives, not because they lack ability, but because at some point, failure convinced them they weren't enough. And once that seed takes root, it grows into self-doubt, procrastination, anxiety, even depression. So here's the truth we have to face head-on, the real enemy is not failure itself. The real enemy is fear. The fear of judgment. The fear of trying again. The fear that maybe the harshest voice in your head is right. And until we learn to separate who we are from what happened to us, until we learn to see failure for what it really is, a moment, not a definition, we will stay trapped. This is why you feel so heavy right now. Not because you failed, but because somewhere deep down, you started believing that failing means you are a failure. And that belief is quietly suffocating your strength, your hope, and your courage to try again. So now that we've named the problem, the question becomes, what do we do with it? Because let's be honest, just hearing that failure is not the end doesn't magically take away the pain. Knowing that you shouldn't give up doesn't instantly refill your energy. If it were that simple, you wouldn't be here searching for something to hold on to. What we need is not more empty slogans, but a different way of seeing. A shift in perspective. A way to break the grip that failure and fear have over us. Here's the truth, failure does not destroy you. What destroys you is staying down. What kills your spirit is not the fall, but the decision to never rise again. And the way to stand up doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to look like a Hollywood comeback. It begins with something small, almost invisible. Think of failure like falling into a pit. When you're down there, the walls look high, the world above feels unreachable. If you try to leap out in one giant jump, you'll likely fall back and hurt yourself worse. But if you look around, maybe you'll notice there are stones, or roots, or small ledges you can grab onto. You don't climb out in one leap. You climb out by grabbing one small ledge, then another, then another. In life, it works the same way. Rising from failure doesn't start with fixing everything. It starts with one small step. Maybe it's as simple as getting out of bed on time. Maybe it's sending that email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's going for a walk to clear your mind. Small actions remind your brain, I am not powerless. I can move. And once you feel movement, hope begins to return. The problem is, when we're hurt, we want the big solution. We want the miracle. We want to wake up tomorrow and feel whole again. But life doesn't heal in giant leaps, it heals in small steps, repeated with courage. Here's another truth, failure is not a signal that you're not good enough. Failure is information. It's feedback. It's life showing you what doesn't work so that you can learn what does. Every time you stumble, you've just discovered a path that leads nowhere, and that knowledge brings you one step closer to the path that does lead somewhere. Think of Thomas Edison testing thousands of materials for the light bulb. Every failure was not wasted, it was one more way to eliminate the wrong answer. Or think of J.K. Rowling, rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter changed the world. Or Michael Jordan, cut from his high school basketball team before becoming a legend. Their failures were not full stops. They were commas in the sentence of their lives. Now, you might say, that's easy for them. They're special. But that's the point, they weren't special when they started. They were just like you. What made them different was not luck, it was the refusal to let failure define them. They kept trying when everything inside them said quit. So here's the invitation: stop asking, what if I fail again? Start asking, what if I learn again? Stop saying, this didn't work, so I must not be good enough. Start saying, this didn't work, so now I know better. And here's something practical. Write down 3 small actions you can take this week that move you forward, no matter how tiny. Surround yourself with reminders of progress, journals, checklists, even a sticky note that says, keep climbing. Talk to people who lift you up, not drag you down. The voices around you shape the voice inside you. One more thing, give yourself permission to be human. You're allowed to hurt. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to cry. But you're not allowed to confuse pain with permanent defeat. Feeling broken doesn't mean you are broken. Failure can be a teacher if you let it. A stepping stone if you step on it instead of sitting on it. A fire that burns away illusions so you can see what truly matters. The question is not whether you'll fail again, because you will. The question is whether you'll keep moving, even when you do. Because resilience is not about avoiding failure. It's about building the muscle to rise after every fall. So pause for a second and imagine this. What if the failure you're facing right now isn't the end, but the very lesson you needed to grow into the person you're meant to be? What if this pain is carving out the space for your next chapter? Take one breath. Take one step. And then another. That is how you break free. That is how you rise again. Sometimes what we need most is not advice, but a story. A story that shows us we are not the only ones crawling through the dark. A story that proves it is possible to rise even when everything seems lost. Let me tell you about a man named John. John was in his late 30s when everything fell apart. He had worked for over a decade in a corporate job, giving every ounce of his energy, hoping to climb the ladder. He sacrificed time with his family, late nights, weekends, believing that one day the payoff would come. But then, without warning, the company downsized. His position was eliminated. Just like that, 12 years of loyalty vanished in a single meeting. He walked out of that building carrying a box of his belongings, but what weighed heavier than the box was the voice in his head: you're a failure. You wasted your best years for nothing. For months, John spiraled. He stayed in bed longer than he should, avoided friends, drowned himself in late-night TV and empty food. He watched others his age posting promotions, vacations, new houses, while he stared at his own reflection, ashamed. One night, he told himself, maybe this is it. Maybe my story ended here. But something small shifted. It wasn't a lightning bolt or a grand speech. It was his daughter, 6 years old, who climbed into bed beside him and whispered, "Daddy, I don't care if you don't have a job. I just want you to smile again." That sentence broke him, and saved him. Because he realized that his worth wasn't tied to a job title. His daughter didn't see him as a failure. She saw him as her dad. And if she still believed in him, maybe he could try to believe in himself again. So John took one small step. He updated his resume. Then he made one phone call. Then another. Rejection still came, doors still closed, but he kept moving. Each step, no matter how small, became a stone in his climb out of the pit. Months later, he landed a job, not the glamorous executive role he once dreamed of, but something different, a position at a nonprofit helping underprivileged kids get access to education. For the first time in years, he woke up with a sense of purpose, not just pressure. He wasn't climbing a corporate ladder anymore, he was building lives. Years later, John looked back at his failure and realized something powerful: if he hadn't been laid off, he never would have found his real calling. The collapse he thought would destroy him was the very event that redirected his life toward meaning. And this is not just John's story. History is filled with men and women who found their strength in the ashes of defeat. Abraham Lincoln lost multiple elections before becoming president and guiding a fractured nation through its darkest hour. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television before becoming one of the most influential women in media. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, only to return years later and revolutionize technology. Each of them had moments where quitting would have been easier, where the voice of "you're a failure" could have been final. But they chose differently. They chose to see failure not as a coffin, but as a classroom. And here's what their stories whisper to you today: you are not done. The chapter you're in may feel dark, heavy, hopeless, but it is not the last chapter. There is still a page waiting to be written, and you hold the pen. The question is, will you keep the pen in your hand, or will you let failure drop it for you? So here we are, at the edge of everything we've talked about. We began in the place of pain, the crushing silence after failure. We named the problem, the way we confuse failing at something with being a failure. We opened the path, learning to rise not with one dramatic leap, but with small, steady steps. We walked through a story of despair turned into meaning, proof that collapse can be a doorway. And now it's time to close this chapter together. I want you to pause, right here, right now. Breathe deeply. Let the air fill your lungs. Feel your heart beating. That sound, it means you are still here. Life is still flowing through you. And as long as you are still here, your story is not finished. Failure did not kill you. It may have shaken you, bruised you, humbled you, but you are still alive. And because you are still alive, possibility still lives inside you. Here's what I want you to remember: failure is temporary, quitting is forever. The wound of failure can heal. The shame can fade. The lessons can shape you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate. But if you choose to quit, if you surrender to the voice that says, "It's over," then that choice becomes permanent. And that is what truly kills the human spirit. So when you stand at the crossroads, remember this: you don't need to leap 1,000 miles today. You just need to take one more step. And then another. Keep the pen in your hand. Keep writing the next line of your story, even if your hands are trembling. One day, you will look back at this moment, the tears, the fear, the broken pieces, and you will see that it was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter. The scar will remain, yes. But scars are proof that you healed, that you endured, that you rose. So here is the final question I leave with you tonight. If this failure is only a lesson, not the end, will you have the courage to try one more time? Remember this: the world is full of people who stopped at the edge of failure. Don't let that be your story. You have more to give, more to live, more to discover. Failure doesn't kill you. But giving up does. Choose to live. Choose to rise. Choose to keep going.